Hello, everybody. This is Frank Data Lorenzo with another edition of QuickLaunch Live, where we share the best ideas, tips, and tricks in just a 15-minute time span, to give you some food for thought around your data-driven initiatives, how to improve access to your data, your dashboarding and reporting needs. And I'm real excited about today's session because we have a great guest attendee. Uh, he hails from Santa Barbara, California. He is a regional controller with the great firm Granite Construction, who we have the honor of partnering with. So it is my sincere pleasure to bring on to our broadcast today Mr. Justin Adams. Justin, say hello.
Good morning, Frank. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me on the show, and I really appreciate your time. Super excited about today, and hopefully we can have some questions and make it interactive and share some great information. And it's all about the data. So thank you, Frank.
It's all about the data. I love that you said that. Just a little housekeeping, folks, for those. Good morning, Jill. Just joining for the first time. Please do put questions in the comments. Justin and I will commit to, if we can't answer every question on the broadcast, we will get back to you promptly with answers. If you're with us live, also put a one in the chat so we know. If you've watched the recording, these recordings are always available on our Preferred Strategies LinkedIn company page. If you watch after the fact, please put a two. And we'd love to know you're out there watching. And if you'd like to discuss any of these topics in greater detail, that's what we do. We'd love to discuss it with you. Put a three and we can reach back out, or of course, just reach out to us at any point. So, turning to our session today, Justin is kind enough to thank you, LinkedIn user. Hello. Justin has been kind enough to take time out of his busy schedule today and talk to us about his data driven experience at Granite Construction. And just to tee that up very briefly, when I joined the Preferred Strategies team, I knew who Granite Construction was. I've been in the construction space a long time. And Justin and I had an opportunity to work together for a volunteer group we're both involved with, CFMA, and we started talking about their use of Power BI and data. And I just loved Justin's excitement there, and I think it'll be exciting to hear how far they've come. So, Justin, when you look at your journey at Granite Construction, maybe you could share with the audience a bit about what it was like pre Quick Launch, pre Power BI, and how you kind of evolved to where you are today. What has that journey been like for both you and your team?
No, it's a good question, Frank. And I did want to share a visual here in just a second. And so I'll click that open. But yeah, I really appreciate your question. And I live in Power BI basically every day. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I probably have, 5 or 10 years ago, I would have 5 or 10 Excel spreadsheets open at a time. And now I go right into Chrome. I mean, I use Edge as well, but I go into Chrome. I open up about 5 or 10 Power BI dashboards by 9 o'clock in the morning. So
Wow.
there's a ton of reporting happening. I'm a regional controller, so I'm in a certain area of the country. I'm not, looking at national information or the entire company, but I'm within one region. But we also have, we break the data down by region, by state, different work types, different business types, and that sort of thing. So the example that I shared on the screen, I don't know if that's something that Frank wants to showcase, but we're
Here we
in
go.
this.
Yep.
Thanks, Frank. We're in this dashboard every Wednesday. We're looking at weekly revenue. So, every company does things a little differently. We track our mobile equipment, um, you know, pretty much in line with the other heavy highway contractors. But every company does things a little differently. But we're looking at, tires, taxes, and insurance, depreciation, minor repairs, major repairs, ground engaging equipment, fuel and lube, and fuel prices are up and down, they're up and down, and then depreciation. And what we've done is we've used Power BI to report on the data, and then we go in and we do analytics based on those metrics. And so we know based on our group rates, we can go in and filter and sort now by equipment type, like a certain type of loader, for example, like the one you see on the screen on the bottom left. With the 988 loader, we're doing really well on fuel based on what we're charging ourselves for revenue. And then when we go into the cost side, how much have we spent? Well, we still have a positive variance. So we go in and we track revenue and cost based on group rates and based on what we're spending for these 8 different metrics to try and figure out if we're doing well, how we're doing well. Then we report on that. And so, our equipment manager in my area or region every week is in the system. Basically, he's turned himself into a mini controller, and he's going in and he's doing weekly and monthly forecasting with this system. And he's excited every Wednesday morning. I get a text or a call at 7 in the morning. Hey, we're at such and such revenue for the week. It's a little higher than I was thinking. And he starts breaking it down. So I don't have to do that for him. He does it for me. So he's kind of leading the charge with that. So I hope that kind of answers your question, Frank. It's just a little bit of detail that goes with it. And that's just one example of maybe 50 different dashboards that we've built or pages to try and get people excited about the information and have folks on the operations side of the business kind of leading the charge. So the controller isn't doing everything.
Absolutely. And I see we have Adam with us and Mr. Tim Emmerich and Tyler. Welcome to the broadcast out there, and feel free to fire away any questions. No, Justin, that was great. And so you started with spreadsheets. Let's talk about that for a moment. When you were using spreadsheets, how were you accessing that data? Was it an export manual manipulation? And if it was, how does that compare to your access to data now?
Well, that's a good question, Frank. Unfortunately, we still have some spreadsheets that we can't get away from. Some are Power BI driven, and some are the old-fashioned way where folks email them, and then we have to store them on SharePoint or a shared drive. I know you've heard that before. All of spreadsheets are on the shared drive. It's data manual manipulation to answer your question for the most part for the spreadsheets that we're still using. The Power BI spreadsheets that we do have are actually pretty good, and we refresh those with a monthly refresh, and the data is pulled in from our ERP and through the data warehouse. So our Power BI spreadsheets are really pretty awesome. Those are living, breathing spreadsheets. All of our other spreadsheets that are not Power BI driven are manual manipulation. We pass them around via email. It's a lot of hand punch data, and unfortunately, we're not doing a lot of importing and exporting with those spreadsheets. I'd prefer to just have the Power BI driven system and let it synchronize through an Office Connect or through the data warehouse. Does that make sense?
Sure does, yeah. And how does QuickLaunch help with that? Now, here's why. Let me back up and tell you why I'm asking that question. I hear from a lot of folks that say, "Hey, we just downloaded Power BI and I wrote something, so we're now data driven." And I think they're missing a very big important step on how you transform or format all of that data so that you can be more productive with creating self-service reports. Know you can trust in the data, drill into details. How does that help over at Granite?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Can you rephrase it a little bit, Frank? Just I want to make sure that I cover all the aspects of
Sure.
the.
Yeah. So people can get Power BI and just start using it off whatever data they have. But when you have a quick launch data model, or data model in this case, you use quick launch, you're transforming the data into a user friendly format for reporting and for better data governance. So if you could maybe just talk about Power BI without quick launch, or more importantly, I think what a transformed, well governed data model affords you when you're creating these really compelling dashboards.
No, that's a great question, and it is kind of hard for me because I'm on a quick launch platform, if you will. So for me, it's a little bit difficult. I've seen a lot of other Power BI setups and people who've created their own platforms, and then we have done some of our own creations and modifications with the Pro license in-house, but we're still kind of on a quick launch platform, if you will, and we have a data warehouse that kind of pulls it all together. I will say that Power BI does really well with the data warehouse and having everything in one area and the data back and forth. I don't have to go in and do imports and exports. I can download reports I'm currently using about, I'd say probably around 15 dashboards on a weekly basis for construction, for materials, for equipment, accounting and financial, um, looking at, like on the material side of the business, tonnage, dollars, a lot of different units and metrics. It saves a ton of time for me and for our teams, where it used to take us 30, 40 hours to do an activity. Now it takes an hour because for me, everything is synchronized. I just click, uh, you know, sometimes you do have to wait for a close with certain platforms or with certain pages, but I just click, hey, I want to look at September. And then then there's also, we've built things into these pages that can compare this September to last September. So it's really helpful to do a quick comparison with a few clicks. And since I'm kind of on a quick launch platform, I guess it's kind of hard to say how it would be if I was on a more generic platform. Does that make sense? I don't know if you can help me
Sure.
explain.
Yeah, I'll say it. You've already been spoiled by the QuickLaunch platform. That's not a bad thing. I'll say it that way. You said something else I want to back up to. Hours saved. Could you restate that? I want to make sure I didn't hear. Was it 30 something hours to one, or I don't want to misstate it, Justin. So what
Yeah,
was it?
sure, Frank. We do have a lot of teams using the software, and we do have other software as well for other things. And so, like I was trying to mention with the data warehouse, all these products kind of talk to each other, and there's I'm sure, some behind the scenes things going on. But we have multiple groups using these reports and dashboards, whereas it used to take one of our teams 40 hours to do an activity after the close to try
Mhm.
and go through and run the calculations with Excel and with our ERP, exporting the reports. There's a lot of report handling with the ERP, and the ERP is good. It's our mainstay, or it's the system of record, if you will. But
Yep.
we have 50 to 100 reports that we download, and it takes a few minutes to download them, and then you have to PDF, or you know get a format, share it with everyone. The team opens the reports, you go through 50 to 100 pages. Or
Right.
for this example, the team used to spend 40 hours running through calculations for um, the executives, and now it takes them about an hour. So that was one example. For me personally,
Uh,
everything takes 30 to 60 minutes now, where it used to take 10, 15 hours of saving this to this share drive, and then emailing these PDFs and spreadsheets out. It's so much easier and so much faster now, and I can track forecast submissions, I can track accruals. I'm looking at operational reporting. I mean, I could go on for probably a half an hour telling you about all the different dashboards that we use, but it might be better to just try and answer some questions that anyone might have. And as controllers, if we have a lot of controllers on the call, I know sometimes we kind of feel like the human punching bag. I was thinking about getting an Everlast shirt to wear to work. Because I feel like a punching bag sometimes. We take the heat for this or that, but with Power BI, I have the data at a couple clicks, and so I feel like I want to carry my laptop around with me because I can't answer questions without having my Power BI in front of me. I know. Does that make sense?
Sure does. Yeah, absolutely. And we're at 1 minute mark already. It's flying by. So I do want to pivot to two things. One, do you have any other screens that you wanted to show, or was this it? Just I don't want to miss anything if you
No,
did.
this is probably our favorite, just with the equipment, mobile equipment, plant equipment, there's a lot more I could show. I don't want to take too much time, Frank. If anyone has questions, or if we can chat or email or whatever, I'd be happy to help. So,
Oh, that's perfect, Justin. Then my last question for you is, and I think this is a fun one. What tips or tricks or lessons learned would you share if a contractor or anyone else came to you and said, "We're thinking of doing this"? What would you suggest to them?
well, I think that the quick launch is the way to go. I think, you're going to have a lot of products that may or may not love the data warehouse right out of the gate, and so you have to go in and do some programming with some help. And you really just want all your software products in the data warehouse communicating, so you can tie in your forecasting, you can tie in any spreadsheets that you have that you love, you can just turn them into a Power BI spreadsheet or a pivot. You want to have all the data communicating is the biggest key. And some things you have to wait for month-end close in order to get the data, other things you don't. So it's all about timing. Timing is most important with these systems. When you pull the data, you pull it on Tuesday, it's different than when you pull it on Wednesday because
Right.
payroll isn't in yet. So these are things you just gotta you learn as you go. And we almost need like a workshop or a team meeting where we can talk through some of these things that, hey, because when people, you don't want your teams to get discouraged or they log in and they say the data is incorrect, I'm not using that anymore. You want to avoid that. That's what I would say is a good lessons learned. So
Justin, I know there's so much more you have to share. We could talk for another hour. I do want to respect the time. We always try and keep these to 15 minutes. So hopefully, if time permits, we could welcome you back on the broadcast to talk about this further. I hope, because I think it's wonderful seeing how far you personally and Granite Construction has come with being data driven. It's really exciting to see.
I think next time, Frank, I'd like the nickname of Milton because I've got my red stapler behind me here. I'm down in the basement. The paycheck stopped coming in a few months ago, but I'm still here. So if anyone needs help, I'd be happy to help, Frank. So
Justin, that's great. As always, I really appreciate the time with you. I want to sincerely thank Justin for joining us today. If you do have questions after the fact, just reach out to me or anyone on our team, and we can connect with Justin. As busy as he is, I know he's happy to help, and we all appreciate it, Justin. So thank you. Thanks everybody out there for joining today, and we are all about your data. So reach out if we can help. We're Preferred Strategies, and take care.
thank you.
Thanks, Justin.